Hello, Razzie here. I'd like to talk about being able to drop a whole bunch of bombs in one pass to really have a whole lot of great explosions, killing a lot of ground units, and basically having fun. The technique I use to drop multiple bombs in single pass are using the Markpoint feature of the aircraft, and that only works with JDAM guided munitions, which means GBU 31s, GBU 38s. It can be used with CBU 103s and 105s. However, multiple deployments of those ordinances are not as effective. Now, basically, the Markpoint system is one of the three modes, one of the three ways the aircraft can show you different waypoints to cycle in your navigation computer. Basically, the three modes are flight plan, Markpoint, and mission. Now, what the flight plan does is it shows you the waypoints in your active flight plan, which is you usually have one flight plan by default, but you can add more. The mission mode will show you all the regular waypoints. Now, when I say regular waypoints, that means all the waypoints in all your flight plans, the bullseye, and all the airports. Now, mark points are a special kind of waypoint, and what makes them special is that they're temporary. The way it works is you can use any of the airplane sensors to mark a mark point, and it adds it to a list of mark points, and there's a limited number of them available. Basically, the mark points are A to Z, or Alpha to Zulu, and Zulu or Z is reserved for the last place you deployed weapons at. In other words, Z is preset by the computer and changed by the computer, and you can use it, but you can't change it. So all the mark points A to Y or Alpha to Yankee are available for you to use. Now you can't select which mark point you're going to set, because every time you tell the computer to set a mark point, it'll set the next one in line. So if you've set mark points Alpha and Bravo, and you ask the sensors to mark another mark point, the next one will be Charlie. And after you've marked Yankee, and you mark another mark point, it'll cycle back and overwrite your old ones and go back to Alpha. Now, what's great about it is that you can quickly mark points, and then you can quickly use them by telling the A-10's computer to use your the mark point list. Now, the first thing to do is to plan your bombing run. And the way to do that is to look at the TGP or any other sensor and look at the targets and kind of figure out what direction you want the A-10 to come in on. So in this case, north is in that direction, so I could easily do an east to west run this way. I could do a south to north run this way. And the reason that's important is because the order I set the mark points matters. So if I wanted to do a south to north run, I would set the mark points in this sequence. So this would be Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, and so on. Now, if I've already done a if I've already set mark points and they're all used up, say up to Delta, then the next mark points I'm going to start, I have to remember that my bombing run starts at Echo. So then this would be Echo, Foxtrot, Golf, Hotel, and so on. So the way to start this up is I'm going to unpause, and I'm going to set my TGP as soy, and I'm just going to start marking. Now I have the CDU open on the other window so I can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to start marking just as I suggested. Now, one thing you can do optionally to help make the marking more accurate is to make sure that the laser is lasing, because what that does is instead of marking the ground behind the truck where I aim it at, if the laser is lasing when I mark it, then it'll mark the point of the vehicle itself. So I'm going to take pause off, and I'm going to start marking. Now the way you mark is TMS right short. So I just marked that truck as mark point Alpha. And I'm just going to keep doing that. That's going to be my Alpha. You're going to be Bravo. You're going to be Charlie. You are going to be Delta. Just to confirm I'm still at Delta. Yep. you are going to be Echo. And last but not least, you will be Foxtrot. Now, if I've done everything correctly, yep, it says Markpoint Foxtrot, or F, on the CDU. So, now the next thing to do, now that I have all the mark points set, oh, by the way, if you mess up and you accidentally mark them in the wrong order, you have two options. You can either create a flight plan and set the mark points in the flight plan in the correct order, but I find that to be cumbersome and annoying, and actually it'd be just easier to just start marking them all over again, and I'll just remember that my bombing run starts at Gulf the next time I start marking them up. So the next step after I've set up my targets is I need to tell the A-10 to show me the mark points and not the flight plan. Now there's two ways to do it. The easy way is to use function 8. Now it's already showing me mark point alpha. The other way is to use the steer point knob down here and set it to mark, which is the middle position. And that does the same thing. So now, if I make my HUD my soy and I cycle using DMS up and down short, you see I'm cycling all the mark points that I have available. Now, because my bombing run starts at alpha, I'm going to set it there. Now, it's super important to always check your sensor point of interest before ingress. So right now, my SPI is set to the TGP, which is bad because the TGP is only pointing in one place. And if I do a bombing run now and release 6 bombs in sequence, they will all fall on that tank. Poor guy. But I would have wasted 5 bombs, which is absolutely terrible. So make sure that steer point is your SPI, like so. And what that means is that now it's using my selected steer point, which are mark points, for the bombing run. Now, if I want to keep an eye on it, I will do China aft long, which sets my TGP to my SPI, or rather to the steer points. So now if I cycle the steer points, Charlie Delta, you'll see that I have an eye on my targets. Now, I'm going to peek at the DSMS with Coolie down long. Yep, all 6 bombs are selected. Master arm is on. Now here's what's going to happen. I'm a little far out. I'm about 7 miles out. And as soon as I'm in range, I will deploy my GBU just as you would normally. Except what I'm going to do after I deploy it is I'm going to do DMS up short. And then I'm going to pickle again. I'm going to do DMS up short and I'm going to pickle again. Basically, when I pickle, right now when I'm going to pickle, it's going to fall on mark point alpha, which is a little off, but because it's a GBU 31, it's a big bomb, so it's going to be okay. And then I'm going to pickle on Bravo, and then on Charlie, and so on. And if I'm successful, I will have dropped 6 bombs on 6 targets in one pass for 6 kills. So let's see how well I did. Oh, and also I never lazed when I selected them as I suggested, but it's optional anyway. So here we go. Now I'll know that the bomb's released because there will be a W. Here we go, manual release, pickle, 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 and pickle. There, empty. All bombs are out. And let's take a look. Now you notice that mark point Z, or Zulu, is still on the same point because that's where the last bomb I released is going. So I'm going to look at alpha, and I'm just going to look them all in sequence and see how well I did. Shack, 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 and shack. That was it, ladies and gentlemen. Applause is here. For myself, how pathetic. You can applaud at home. I'll be very happy. And I'm glad you enjoyed it, even if you didn't. And next, I'm going to show you how to do this exact same techniques with Mavericks, which is a little harder. So stay tuned.